Tonight, the fallout after the president says the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. President Trump saying he would consider sending in American troops and that the U.S. will own the Gaza Strip, even saying many Palestinians would have to relocate to other countries, floating a vision of the, quote, Riviera of the Middle East. Now the White House walked back, saying the president wasn't committed to putting troops on the ground. Kelly O'Donnell reports from the White House, and Richard Engel on the backlash across the Middle East. Reports scare, one flight nearly slashing off the tail of another when they clip wings in Seattle. The investigation tonight. Plus,
I've been shot on my neck and my blood body is on the floor. But I took the gun away from the guy. You took the gun away?
The suspect in custody after a 12-hour manhunt after a workplace mass shooting near Ohio State University. We're on the ground. And can those wildly popular weight loss drugs treat addiction? Stephanie Gosk on the cutting-edge research underway.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. The question of whether the U.S. could ever really take ownership of the Gaza Strip was almost secondary today as the world first tried to understand exactly what President Trump has in mind. Sounding more like the real estate mogul of his prior life, Mr. Trump stunned leaders inside and outside the Middle East last night with his vow for the U.S. to take a long-term ownership position in Gaza, imagining a rebuilt version of the largely destroyed territory as the Riviera of the Middle East. It's a hard turn for a president who came to office wary of foreign adventures, now leaving on the table, at least for now, American boots on the ground to achieve a Gaza takeover, relocating more than 2 million Palestinians in potential defiance of international law. Overseas and here at home, sharp reaction. His allies crediting him for thinking outside the box, while critics condemn the idea. Kelly O'Donnell begins our reporting.
I'm confident that
with his global megaphone,
the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
President Trump's provocative and volatile vision of an American takeover of war-torn Gaza is roiling the world tonight.
The Riviera of the Middle East.
Yet today, he cited only praise.
Everybody loves it.
But a rare split reaction from the president's party.
I think this is a good development. We have to back Israel 100%. And so whatever form that takes, we're interested in having that discussion.
While other Republicans raise serious doubts.
I'm not supportive of having the American people pay to rebuild Gaza. I don't think that's our responsibility.
However, the president's own words outlined U.S. control.
We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site.
Alongside Israel's Prime Minister, Mr. Trump did not explain how his proposal squares with his fierce criticism of foreign entanglements and America First worldview.
What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East.
The president also said he would send U.S. troops if necessary.
Like
NBC's Garrett Hake pressing the White House today.
Can you explain this reversal and how building and owning Gaza squares with America First foreign policy?
I would reject the premise of your question that this forces the United States to be entangled in conflicts abroad. The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza.
Prime Minister Netanyahu offered praise.
He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism.
This Trump concept would rely on regional neighbors like Egypt and Jordan to accept Gaza refugees. But their condemnation was swift. Egypt and Jordan denounced an American takeover with forced relocation of Palestinians. Inside Gaza today, Palestinians stood firm.
How I can move to another land? It's my land.
The premise channels the Trump family business. Son-in-law, former advisor Jared Kushner, spoke out about development in March.
Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods.
Today, Democrats denounce the idea.
Absolutely dumb, stupid, and illegal. We will not be occupying Gaza.
Kelly, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is now weighing in, defending the president's proposal, calling it generous.
Lester, he says it's not a hostile move, and Rubio also added that Gaza is full of unexploded munitions, and that makes it unlivable. A rebuilding period would not be safe for civilians, but he stressed it would not be permanent. Lester?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell, thank you. Richard Engel is standing by now. Richard, the White House says President Trump floated this idea as a temporary solution. What are you hearing from people in the region?
So he may have floated it, but it crashed in the Middle East. I spoke to several senior Arab leaders, and they all described it with horror and disgust. One official asking why it was even necessary. Why would you have to forcibly remove the Palestinians simply to do reconstruction? They could stay in one part of Gaza while building takes place in another area. One official said that this proposed plan is really tantamount to ethnic cleansing. Jordan and Egypt, with both have peace treaties with Israel, have said they won't take part in it. They won't be party to depopulating the Gaza Strip. And at the end of the day, Lester, it boils down to trust. Palestinians don't believe that if they're forced out, they will ever be allowed to return.
Richard Engel, thank you. Let's turn now to President Trump's shakeup of the federal government, with employees of one key agency being placed on leave and CIA employees now being offered a buyout. Here's Garrett Haake.
Tonight, President Trump's latest move in his campaign pledge to slash the size of the federal government. All employees at the U.S. Agency for International Development, which distributes foreign aid, receiving this email saying most staff will be placed on administrative leave at noon Friday.
Hey, Elon Musk has got to go!
Democrats protesting the cuts quarterbacked by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency.
We don't pledge allegiance to Elon Musk.
We are here to fight back. No one elected Elon Musk to nothing.
While Republicans defending Musk.
USAID has got to actually serve the interests of American foreign policy. It ought to be to promote the interests and well-being of the American people, not some left-wing woke agenda.
Musk posting overnight, Democrats' quote, hysterical reactions are how you know that DOGE is doing work that really matters. This is the one shot the American people have to defeat bureaucracy. In another cost-cutting move, the Trump administration now offering buyouts to most employees at the CIA and other intel agencies. More than 40,000 federal employees so far have already accepted an earlier buyout offer, according to a source familiar.
From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
And this afternoon, the president signing a new executive order banning transgender women from competing in women's sports and withholding funding from schools that don't comply.
We will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls.
The Human Rights Campaign responding, quote, this order could expose young people to harassment and discrimination.
Meanwhile, today, a second federal judge has blocked the president's executive order attempting to limit birthright citizenship. The president has argued it's a magnet for illegal immigration, but the judge today said the order violates the 14th Amendment. Lester?
Garrett Haake, thank you. Yet another aviation incident today, this one in Seattle, where a taxiing plane struck another jet as the transportation secretary announced big changes following last week's deadly collision in Washington. Tom Costello joins us. Tom, what have you learned?
Yeah, the FAA and the NTSB are investigating what happened on the runway at Seattle's SeaTac Airport. The wing of a Japan Airlines 787 sliced into the tail of a Delta Airlines 737, waiting to be de-iced. Delta says there were no injuries, and 1 week after that fatal crash at Reagan National Airport, the FAA says it will no longer allow a helicopter and civilian aircraft to share the same airspace at the same time around Reagan National Airport. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the number of military helicopters flying around D.C. will have to be reduced.
If we have generals who are flying in helicopters for convenience through this airspace, that's not acceptable. Get in a damn Suburban and drive. You don't need to take a helicopter.
Yeah, Duffy says the administration is working to staff up air traffic control facilities, and Elon Musk says his Doge team will make rapid safety upgrades to the air traffic control system. His words. Lester?
All right, Tom, thanks. A suspect is under arrest tonight on a charge of aggravated murder after a mass shooting at a warehouse in New Albany, Ohio. Maggie Vespa reports on the moments of horror and the heroism revealed in 911 calls.
Tonight, a 12-hour manhunt for Bruce Reginald Foster III, the employee who authorities say unleashed a deadly targeted attack inside this Ohio cosmetics plant, ending with a dramatic arrest near Ohio State's campus.
I'm shot in the arm, 8025 Snowfield Road. I'm going to bleed out, please.
Newly released 911 calls appearing to be from victims detailing the horror.
I've been shot on my neck, and my blood body is on the floor, but I took the gun away from the guy. My body is just shot on the floor. He's down on the floor.
Okay, is he breathing?
I don't know. I've been shot. I'm putting pressure on my neck. I can't breathe. Come on, do it fast.
5 people were hurt, 1 killed. Authorities not releasing names and confirming they recovered a handgun at the scene. They say Foster had been on shift for hours before opening fire around 10:20 last night. His motive still unclear.
Do you think he targeted those 6 people, or do you think they were just around when he started shooting?
I think we're beginning to get a picture of that. We need to go through and find out, like, where's his workstation compared to the other people's.
Investigators say Foster fled using a ride-share service. The manhunt lasting through the morning. U.S. Marshals and other agencies tracking him down more than 20 miles away at this apartment complex near Ohio State University's campus. Court documents show Foster was arrested on 1 count of aggravated murder, with authorities recommending a $20 million bond. Lester.
Maggie Vespa, thank you. In 60 seconds, the bust in that bling ring tied to star athletes. The new indictments and arrests announced just tied to the break-in at the home of NFL star Joe Burrow. The new details right after this. We're back with new details on the international crime ring bust that spans from Joe Burrow's home in Ohio to the Diamond District of Manhattan to Chile. It comes as investigators reveal new information about what they found while they were undercover. Laura Jarrett has more.
New details emerging in court today on 2 suspects federal prosecutors say have been fueling a demand for stolen luxury goods, working with a sophisticated international crime ring targeting the homes of pro athletes. This pawn shop in New York City's famed Diamond District raided by the FBI Tuesday, where authorities say they recovered dozens of stolen high-end watches and jewelry after an undercover agent spent months selling them stolen goods for cash. Prosecutors say phone records and surveillance footage link Dmitry Novinsky and Juan Villar to South American theft rings carrying out burglaries across the country. Novinsky specifically tied to a group allegedly behind the burglary of Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. Tonight, the FBI releasing this new photo of the alleged crew seen donning Gucci as a federal grand jury in Ohio indicted 3 of the men, after state patrol officers found this LSU t-shirt and a Louis Vuitton bag among other items in their car.
Where are you going right now?
Back in New York, both defendants pleading not guilty in court today.
We've heard prosecutors say many things, but I'm anxious to see all the evidence.
Prosecutors arguing they're a flight risk and now due back in court Friday, as a rash of thefts of other high-profile athletes still remain unsolved. Laura Jarrett, NBC News, New York.
Still ahead tonight, the new hope that weight loss drugs can help with addiction. Next. Back now with the study of a potential medical breakthrough, researchers exploring if those wildly popular weight loss drugs can help treat addiction. Stephanie Goss now with what they're finding so far.
The new class of weight loss drugs called GLP-1s are radically changing people's lives. But some patients are noticing more than just the pounds coming off.
Anybody else kick the wine habit?
It's what helped me get sober.
So can these medications also be a powerful tool in the fight against addiction? Early studies and animal research have shown some promise.
What we're missing at this point, and what's really critical, is to have those placebo-controlled randomized clinical trials, the gold standard.
And that's what you're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Kyle Simmons and his team at Oklahoma State University are studying how GLP-1s may help people struggling with alcohol.
The hope is that by measuring everything from behavior down to genes. We may be able to get a better picture of why these medications are working, if they are working.
Kara Stainbrook started taking a GLP-1 to lose weight a year and a half ago.
My very first shot, I no longer wanted food.
But then the self-described daily drinker stopped drinking.
It took me about a week to realize I wasn't picking up the bottle.
And you were picking up the bottle every afternoon, every day?
Yes.
Stainbrook is not part of the OSU study.
How long has that bottle been in that cabinet?
19 months.
But her experience is exactly what researchers at OSU want to understand. Study participants look at images of drinks with and without alcohol while getting an MRI scan.
We're trying to look at how their brain responds to these different types of cues.
The same is done with near-infrared spectroscopy, which I had a chance to try myself.
I want you to answer as quickly as you can.
The hope is that participants on the GLP-1 would have the same brain activity regardless of the drink they see.
We know for certain that this is a participant who meets criteria for alcohol use disorder.
If the drug works, those brain regions may no longer light up.
So it would look more like this.
Nothing.
Right.
The researchers also monitor changes in behavior with food using virtual reality.
They've actually had to give me another plate because I've taken so much food at this point.
The study will wrap up later this year, promising a possible clearer picture of what these drugs can do.
It is very clear at this point that we are sort of at the beginning of a revolution in medicine. The question is, are we at a beginning of a revolution in addiction medicine?
Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.